On WhatsApp, no one can see or hear your personal messages. Whether it's a voice call, message, or sending a password. To WhatsApp, it's all just this. So whether you're sharing the streaming password in the family chat or trading those late-night voice messages that could basically become a podcast, your personal messages stay between you, your friends, and your family. No one else. Not even us. WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold! Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
When you wanna grow your list size, pop up like it's hot, pop up like it's hot, pop up like it's hot. And when you gotta boost your revenue, pop up like it's hot, hey, pop up like it's hot, pop up like it's hot. Pick your favorite template, you can tailor to your brand. They're MailChimp-erific, you're gonna be a fan. MailChimp your marketing with our new customizable pop-ups.
This episode is brought to you by Polestar. There's only one true way to experience the all-electric luxury SUV Polestar 3, and that's to take a test drive. It can go from 0 to 60 in as little as 4.8 seconds with the dynamic handling of a sports car. But to truly understand how it commands the road, you need to be behind the wheel. Up to 350 miles of range, the 3D surround sound system by Bowers & Wilkins. It's all something you have to experience to believe. So book your test drive for Polestar 3 today at polestar.com.
We've been trying to get this show for at least 6 months.
Yeah, sure, we've been ducking that smoke, though. That's probably been ducking that smoke.
That's a bold claim.
Just like LeBron in the clutch, ducking the action. He don't want to shoot.
Y'all and these Jordan fans, man. Just because he got shoes, y'all think he the GOAT?
He got titles, rings, MVPs. I mean, he's got the whole resume. Offensive accolades, defensive accolades. What more do you want? The point of the game is to score and to stop the other team. He got more of both of those than LeBron.
LeBron James got played. Y'all sat there and allowed somebody on the second team, all defensive team, win Defensive Player of the Year, while LeBron was number one. We know what LeBron do. LeBron been averaging like 27 a game since he started.
Jordan been averaging 30+ a game.
Hey, who's number one? When you put that all scoring leader of all time, who's number one?
Took him 30 years. Cool. I don't knock him for it, but it took him 30 years.
He was GOATed all 30 from start to finish.
No, he hasn't been GOAT every year. It's Steph Curry's era.
Welcome to the show, Relly. Supporting those Cleveland Cavaliers. I know you do work with the That's Rather Cavalier podcast. What's the other show podcast that you holding down for?
High Hands. High Hands. Yeah, we out there. We got to get more content, but yeah, we talking everything NBA. We trying to get a little spicy on it.
This is the channel where we do that. We do put spice out there, right? As you see my co-host Q, he pulls nothing back, right? He goes, he shoot the fade, right? So that's what we're here to do. We here to talk LeBron, Mike, we're going to settle this once and for all. And we're going to start it off just like this. Who came into the league hottest? We know LeBron, he had one of the biggest shoes to fill coming into the league, as you know, being on the slam cover, being called the chosen one and all that coming in. But then there's Mike, one of the most decorated college basketball players you could have, and only in a 3-year college career. So who hit the ground running harder as the NBA player? Now I'm gonna start with you, Q. What would you think about that?
I would say the guy who came in averaging nearly 30 points was heads and shoulders the best rookie, was able to take his lottery team, which was terrible, to the playoffs. That's the guy who hit the ground running. Jordan was instantly, in his rookie year, probably consensus top 5 to 10 player immediately.
You saying Mike was the consensus top 5 player
He
as a rookie?
He was a top 10 player, somewhere in the 5 to 10 range in his rookie year.
I'm gonna let you rebut that real fast. You agree? Mike was a top 10 player as a rookie.
No. Well, you know what? No, I was speak too soon. You know, I almost gave you that LeBron there. Michael Jordan was he was a top 10 player as a rookie. He was, or pretty close to it. He was sustainable. He was definitely a threat, but his impact as a rookie was nowhere near LeBron James. Like, if we being honest, first year, LeBron James had his team hating on him before he even got to the team.
What does that have to do with the production? Michael Jordan was all NBA his rookie year. All NBA his rookie year. What was LeBron's rookie year? All NBA what? When was he all NBA?
He was well. Let's see here. He was an.
Come on, lie. Come on, lie like LeBron fans do.
Look up your lie. He was first team All NBA in 2006. That's 2 years removed in the league. 2 years after being drafted.
That's not his rookie year, though, right? We're talking rookie year, right?
So what? He did it in 2. He came out of high school.
We're talking rookie years. Why are you skipping what he did? We're talking rookie years. Let's stick to the arguments. We're talking rookie years. Who had the best rookie year? The guy that was on the second team All NBA. I don't even know what we're arguing about. If we're gonna do this LeBron Michael Jordan debate, let's at least have honesty. You know, I see you got the LeBron James, your little. I see you got your jersey, reminding me. It's looking real MAGA-like right now. Like you're just gonna get on here and lie.
we gotta sit here and be honest, right? We gotta sit here and be honest. LeBron James out of high school, 18-year-old player, was already leading his team.
Yeah.
To big things. LeBron James wasn't even playing his true position his first year. They forced him at the point guard position. Just to be somewhat acceptable to the team.
All I hear is excuses. We're just talking about who was better. Why are you telling me about poor LeBron? See, the problem with LeBron James fans is they are perpetual victims. They are victims. There are 2 types of LeBron James fans. The Cleveland-based ones, who I feel sorry for because they suffer with abandonment issues because he's left them twice for no reason. Didn't even show no love, just left them, went to another team, won titles. And then there's the LeBron fans who are like foster children. These are the ones that follow him wherever he's at. You know, they're Lakers fans 1 year, Cavs fans 1 year, Heat fans 1 year. We're simply talking about who had a better rookie year. We're not talking about what he was forced to do. That's irrelevant. Did he have the better year than Jordan? The answer is no. I don't even think that's a debate. He was 18. He was this, that. I don't care. He was a rookie. Jordan was better. Second team All NBA. What are we discussing?
I think there is something to say for being 18 years old and being the leader of your squad.
I would say 18-year-old. I would say 18-year-old LeBron was better than 18-year-old Jordan, but we're talking about their rookie years in the NBA. 18, cool. Thing is, I don't take any credit for LeBron. He's a top 3 NBA player of all time in my book. And he ain't 3, but he ain't 1. I love LeBron James. He was one of my favorite players. But we're talking about the rookie year. I don't want to hear nothing about he was 18, he was this, that. Yeah, cool story. We're talking about who was the better rookie.
We got to stop, man. Because we can't let the past keep blinding y'all, because that's why this is why people hate y'all OGs, man, because y'all sit here and act like Michael Jordan, because I know y'all was out here calling him Black Cat and Black Jesus. Y'all was afraid of the man. I know y'all was out here, y'all was juicing up the person y'all was calling Black Jesus, but come on, man. Y'all got to let the past go. Michael Jordan was a good player. I respect that. He was. Yeah, he was a good player. And he also had good players around him. LeBron James didn't when he came into the league. He
Who was
had
the good players
bombs.
around Jordan when he came into the league?
Hey, man.
That's what I do want to. I do want to talk about that. Let's talk about the surrounding cast during their first few years in the season. Rail, let's kick it off with you this time. Going, what type of situation was LeBron drafted into as it relates to teammates, coaching staff? What did he have to overcome to become to get into that peak LeBron mode?
So for LeBron, like, you got to understand, when he came into the league, he's coming into a team who already was telling fans, telling media, telling us that we didn't need LeBron James on the team. They was already his number one op before he even joined the team. And not only did they do that, they forced LeBron James to play a position that wasn't his mandatory position. They forced him at the point guard. So LeBron James, from the start of his career, was already playing catch up for talent that wasn't even at his level at 18 years old. And he still outperformed them. And then when you look at all those players that we had on that team, we basically moved them after that same season within the first two. So that shows you this alleged talent that LeBron James had on his team wasn't serviceable, because most of them was borderline out the league anyway.
Same question to you, Q. What did Mike get drafted into? You said that he led his team to a playoff berth. So what type of situation did Mike have? Coaches, mates, and let's. Oh, they did. My mistake there. But let's talk about his teammates that he helped get into the playoffs. Let's talk about those guys, and let's not use too much time talking about their addictions.
I was definitely going to say he had a team full of cokeheads. Like, look, listen, LeBron didn't come into a good situation. He came into Cleveland. Let's be honest. It's Cleveland. There's nothing good about Cleveland. There was nothing good about the Cavaliers. They had a decent team in the 90s, but he came into a bad situation. Jordan came into a bad situation. I don't really want to get into comparing situations, because the Bulls weren't good before Jordan. They haven't really been relevant after Jordan. So, I mean, they came into similar teams, like teams that had been lottery bound for years, teams that weren't relevant in the NBA, teams with the Bulls didn't really have a plan. I mean, half his teammates were cokeheads, half of them were guys who just never fulfilled their potential. There were some old guys. There were guys who didn't last in the NBA. So I don't think there's no point in comparing teammates. Neither one of them had a good supporting cast coming in. I don't really have an opinion on whose was worse, because neither supporting cast was capable of going anywhere.
Last final thing on the early careers of these two guys, it's the ops. Whose path, whose trail was a lot more difficult? Q, I'm gonna start with you. Jordan came into the league 84. He had to deal with what?
A dynasty. Two of the greatest teams to ever play in the NBA. You had the 80s Celtics, the 80s Lakers, and then you had the emerging 80s Pistons. The Rockets had a really good team. The Bucks were actually a really strong team then. So, I mean, the 80s the Celtics were pretty much a super team, as were the Lakers. So he had to deal with a couple super teams right away.
What about LeBron? Were there any super teams out west really hitting him upside the head as a young player?
Because you still got Detroit. You got Indiana. So you had a whole bunch of gritty teams out there in the East.
Mm-hmm.
They wasn't necessarily super teams, but they was physical.
Detroit, who was a recent champ, right? And And for
Miami.
the Bulls and Miami, yeah. Shout out to D Wade who came in LeBron's draft class, a champion right there in 06. So in the first 3 years, LeBron had two champions in his conference. I think for Mike, the '86 Celtics. I think the Celtics won in '85 as well, right? No. They never went back to back.
No, they never went back to back.
Correct me
I
if I'm
think
wrong
they only got 2 in the 80s.
Three. They got 3. Yeah, they got one. They got
Real early in
one
the
in
80s?
80. They got one in 80. They got one in 80. I think it was 82 or 83, and then I know the last one was 86. But you also have Philadelphia in there. They got a couple. I think Philadelphia won in '83. I think that might be a little bit
Yeah,
before
before
Mike's
Mike's
time, because
time.
then right. So still, I mean, I think it's about even as far as the landscape as it relates to those guys as a young players. I think is about even as far as whose team was shittier. So let's move on to the peak part of their careers. Rail, you started to get into that part when you had teams starting to do the super team era. It started with Boston in 08. That's a year after the LeBron's first finals trip in 07 when he went to the finals and played against the Spurs. So I think his peak started about that part, right? You want to say so?
Yep. Because after 06, 07, he was stamped. He was really, well, you could say 05, but in terms of like now he's starting to build up them accolades, he was stamped. We knew him as the face of the league.
What would you say was that crowning achievement that like really put him on that on everyone's notice?
So really, I think officially, even though I know he lost in the finals to the Spurs, but just the fact that he was able to bring, because you look at that that finals run with Cleveland, right? Perfect example. Outside of LeBron James, right? To a to a normal basketball fan, can you name me the talent that was on that team?
Booby. There's Booby. I know Booby. There's Big Z.
Big Z, right? And you know what his second leading scorer was in that finals? How much they average?
I think LeBron averaged 18, right?
Huh?
So I want to say his second leading scorer was about 9.
No, it was a little bit more. It was 13 points.
Okay.
Wait, so LeBron averaged 18 in that finals,
Huh?
and his second leader scored averaged 13.
It's average 13.
Poor leadership. How could you expect the second in command to give you a lot of points when you're only putting in 18?
He's getting guarded by 4 players. Well, 5 players.
Wasn't somebody
You had
open then? I thought he was such a great playmaker. If he's getting all these, why couldn't he set the guys up?
Because they wasn't making shots. That's the beautiful thing about basketball. You can be an elite level playmaker. If you get them open and they're not making shots, which they wasn't, because they wasn't good offensive players, it doesn't matter. And this is what Timmy D literally said on press conference. He was like, hey, man, like LeBron James is a special player, and we're guarding him like one because we don't trust all the other players on his team for a reason. Because his second leading scorer is averaging 13, and he's working hard, and we're not even really guarding him. That's a different, and you have one of the best teams in the Western Conference openly telling you, with one of the greatest coaches we've ever seen tell you, we're just guarding him.
Yeah.
we will die by everybody. We would die by all 12 of y'all, but we're not going to die by him.
Not going to die by LeBron. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough when your teammates aren't really good and you're going up against a powerful team like the Spurs. But you got to do better than 18 points. I like to recall when you bring that story. I like to recall a young MJ going against the dynasty Celtics, put up 63 on them. He didn't have the excuses like my teammates aren't good, so I'm just gonna come in here and average 18 points. I'm gonna do 63. But that's the difference between Chicago and Cleveland. But I don't want to turn this into city versus city. We're gonna do this player versus player though.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
What round was that?
What round was what?
That Michael Jordan in Boston Celtics. What round was that?
That was the first round.
And what year was he in when he did that?
Was that 80? I think that was 85, 86.
So how many seasons did he play by that time?
That was his first or second season.
You know where LeBron James was at when he had that problem?
You said who?
You know where LeBron James was at when he had his problems?
He was in the finals. He was playing a champion.
That's a huge difference.
I mean, we both played the champions.
That's a huge difference. He was playing championship games.
But because the East didn't have any good teams there. He could just coast to the. I mean, you're going to tell me a Ben Wallace Pistons was tough competition? Ooh, stop it. I mean, he got that belt to ass when he finally played a real team. If he'd have been in the West, he would have never been in a position to be in the finals. I just call that fortunate.
What a surprise!
Here's the thing, though. I like that you brought that career highlight game up for MJ. The 63 points in the Garden is still a record for a visiting player in the playoffs. I don't know why Real didn't point this out. I think the ascension mark for LeBron was when he went, 29 straight points against those Detroit Pistons.
That was amazing.
In the round prior to the finals.
That was amazing. Against a good defensive team. He should have brought some of that scoring to the Spurs, though. The problem with LeBron is he got satisfied in that Eastern Conference Finals. 18 points per game, that's wild crazy that we're having that discussion about a GOAT coming to the finals and doing that. Like, no, that's unacceptable. Too many lowlights when the lights are the brightest. That's my problem with LeBron.
I thought you said we were speaking honesty.
It is speaking honesty. You got to do better than 18 points a game. I didn't know it was that bad. I thought the J.J. Barea thing, I thought being defended by J.J. Barea was bad. I thought scoring no points in the fourth quarter against the Mavericks was bad. You just brought up something else. Thank you. I didn't know we pissed the bed like that against Spurs.
We got to be honest, man. It's anybody who's played basketball realize no matter how good you are, when you're keyed by 5 players from point guard to center, you're gonna have a tough night. And against San Antonio, one of the most team-oriented defenses in the league, that's I don't know if you expect him to go off for a 40 and 50 point league against that team, but that's just not something that happens.
Excuses. But that's what LeBron James fans do. I was prepared for this. You don't think Jordan was ever keyed in on by the opposing teams? Huh?
By 5 players? By 5 players?
First of all, let's stop the cap. Let's stop the cap. There were not 5 players guarding LeBron James. He was not
5 players.
Quadruple. He was the focal point of the Spurs defense, as he should. But this isn't something unique to just LeBron James. Great offensive players get keyed in on. So I'm not trying to hear the excuses about if there were 5 players guarding him, I'm sure somebody was open. No, he did not have a great supporting cast. We're not going to sit here and say there were 5 grown men guarding LeBron James and leaving the other 4 guys wide open and they couldn't miss a shot.
See, this is the beautiful thing about running a zone defense.
Yeah.
They are open. They're just not gonna hit the shots. That's the point. This is what San Antonio has openly said. Like they didn't respect the other 4 players on the court. So even if LeBron crashes in the paint, right? I have my center up, I have my power forward up, and I have my wing and my guard basically lurking, and then I have whoever in the passing lane. As soon as LeBron James crashes, the first pass, I don't respect it. He's not hitting. Your second leading scorer, if you get the ball to him, is averaging 13 points per game. That's 5 people on you. That's a different, like, we've seen it with talented players with very elite level defense. We've seen it. We have never seen nobody get keyed in like this, ever.
So we're saying that LeBron, he attracted so much attention during the peak of his powers that could explain some of the I guess lowlights, if you want to call it, if you want to look at it that way. What about Michael Jordan? And I'm asking this to you, Rail. What about Michael Jordan during the peak of his powers? Let's start at let's say 87, around that point, from 87 to 90. Did he not attract a lot of attention?
He did, because, like I said, if we're gonna be honest, he was a scoring machine, right? Like, from that baseline, once he crashed that 3-point line, it was just up. You had to have 2 defenders kind of float there, and even still, Michael Jordan was just faster than you. and this wasn't when Michael Jordan had that level of strength yet. Like, he was just so much faster than you, and his athleticism was so crazy, he was getting past you. So of course, you are going to double team that, but to that tier. But he was I mean, it's nothing else you can really say, but he was a elite level athletic player.
And if you recall, there was a Jordan rules back then that he had. There was a mantra, but everybody, 10 eyeballs on Mike, because nobody cares about what Scotty got to do with anything.
I wanted to backtrack on something because the young man said no one else was hitting shots. Just throwing out little facts. So the Cavaliers shot 395 as a team against the Spurs. So they weren't hitting shots. LeBron shot 356 from the field. So he was hitting less shots than his teammates. But I'm just saying, the LeBron James hive likes to point their finger and blame everybody else. This is going exactly what I thought. So nobody was hitting shots, but they were shooting a better field goal percentage than LeBron. We can move on now. I just want to add that. Let's just go now. Let's just go.
Well, I'm sure they were being left open.
Let's move on. Let's move on. Yeah, they were hitting shots, but they were hitting shots at a better percentage than LeBron. Oh, and also they were shooting at a higher clip. The team percentage from 3 was 300, and LeBron shot 200. Seems like the person not hitting shots was LeBron, but what you say? What you say, Pay? Come on, let's move on.
Still during the peak part of their career, whatever you think the peak part of career is for Michael Jordan, what do you think those years were, BQ?
Michael Jordan peak, I would say 89 to 96.
You left out the first MVP, huh? Okay. And a Defensive Player of the Year award.
That MVP, I mean, Jordan was taking a lot of shots, really high usage. I don't think he knew how to involve his teammates by then. So, no.
A taller Westbrook.
He put up numbers, but it wasn't a guy who was involving his teammates and utilizing his teammates to the best of his ability. He was a highlight reel then.
Okay. All right. So you say from 89 to, what did you say, 93?
96. That was the tail end of his peak.
Huh. Okay. All right. From 93 to 96, Michael Jordan had 3 MVPs?
He got his MVPs. Let me look it up because I don't want to. I know he won one. It was 87. I want to say 91, 92.
No, just doing
95, 96, right?
Just doing those peak years. So from 89 to 96, he's got an MVP in 91, MVP in 92, and MVP in 96. So that's 3, right? Plus the finals MVPs. Yeah. So that's 4 finals MVPs, 3 regular season MVPs, and that's 4 scoring titles?
Yeah,
and
scoring title.
And all NBA.
Every full season he played, there was a scoring title.
That's not true. Was 4 scoring titles? No, 5 scoring titles because 96.
Yeah, I'm talking about in this
5 scoring titles.
In those years, every full year he played, he won a scoring title. In those years.
Okay, I got you. And the gold medal.
Yeah.
So That's a Hall of Fame career
already
right
just
there,
in
real
5 years.
For LeBron. What's his peak years?
So I would go from '05, maybe to, let's say, 2016.
Okay.
Like, in terms of just
I'm
where people just just fear Bron from his athleticism, his power, and then his defense more so was in that mid-year. But even though, like I said, even with that Miami stretch, he was played on Defensive Player of the Year because you had Marc Gasol, who won Defensive Player of the Year, and he was a second team all defender, which that's a that's a problem. That's a problem.
I agree with you there. Marc Gasol winning Defensive Player of the Year over LeBron wasn't it left a bad taste in my mouth, no did it. But just through those 10 years of LeBron peak, you got, let's see, how many MVPs? I think there's 2012.
Yeah, because you got the '09 MVP and then the 2010. So you had the two. I feel like I'm missing an MVP, but yeah, the '09, '02.
I know he went back to back in 12 and 13.
I might have to fact check that one though.
Because he won 2 MVPs in Miami. During his 4 years in Miami, he won 2 MVPs. 12 and 13. Derrick Rose and Kevin Durant, they made the sandwich of those. They were the buns, basically, of that sandwich. So you got 2 in Miami. I know you got the '09 one. And I'm trying to see if there's a fourth one in there. You had to keep me honest.
Yeah, because if we're talking about, so the '09, the 2010, then you have your 2012, 2013, two-time champion. He's already a 7+ all NBA player. Had 6 all defensive teams, first teams. And of course he had literally a plethora of all-star appearances. I think he only not made it 1 year, and that was his rookie season. So,
and there's 2 gold medals in there too, right? And that's in that span.
2 gold medals. Obviously, two-time champ, two-time, actually 3-time Finals MVP. So,
yeah, because you did say 16, right?
So, LeBron James in that stretch was a complete player from all spectrums. Of course, he didn't get the Defensive Player of the Year. That'd be the catalyst. But like I said, it's 2 years where he should have won it. The Marc Gasol one, and honestly, the Joakim Noah one. And I know y'all Bulls fans, y'all might stamp that, but honestly, you look at what LeBron James was doing in Miami. In that 4-year stretch in Miami, he was feared as a defensive player. Like, he was known for them chase down blocks. Like, that was his peak as a defender.
I straight up forgot that Joakim Noah has a Defensive Player of the Year award. That you just reminded me of that. I forgot all about that.
Even though Joakim Noah was a good defender, don't get me wrong, what he did with Chicago was amazing, but the fact that you don't remember that as a Bulls fan is nasty. It's nasty work. Let's be honest. Like it's a lot of things. LeBron James, if I'm doing what Q said, like, if we're being honest, yes, the Dallas series was terrible. Could have been a better 3-point shooter too, which he started becoming down the stretch of his prime. But LeBron James, as a complete player, he was a good rebounder. He was a good passer. He was averaging 27+ points per game. Like, it wasn't anything LeBron James couldn't do at that 6'9", 250 frame.
So I'm gonna ask you first before we throw it back to Q. What makes that peak run from LeBron greater than Jordan's peak run?
So, what is the impact? I think because a lot of the stuff you do gotta unravel, you gotta unlayer, right? we know Michael Jordan, what he did was impressive too. Like this, we're not taking that away from him. He's a GOAT, right? But what LeBron James did in that tenure, he literally changed how the NBA was, like how people was building teams, how the money was different, how players decided to join up with each other. Like a lot of things shifted then and now because of what LeBron James did in that tenure. Like you had teams like I said, when I stretched it to 2016, you had teams like Golden State, who was a 73-9 team, who had a really good team. They had a blunder in the finals, and they still went out and said, you know what, we need Kevin Durant to make this a series. Like we have to make that big of a move to really expand on our dynasty because we just don't feel confident going head to head with LeBron James. And then on top of that, LeBron James, if we look at that peak I just said, he had a 9-year consecutive run in the finals from that stretch. You couldn't not say LeBron James in the finals not in the same sentence. They was literally parallel to each other because that's how much of a chokehold he had in the league.
That's a good argument. Why is that argument better than the argument for Michael Jordan during his peak run? Q can say 89 to 96. I'm going to tell you, as a Mike fan, his real peak was 87 to 93.
So for me, where it's not to take away from Michael Jordan, because you got to keep saying that because it's not. I don't want to come off as being like, yeah, I'm the younger who just like, yeah, what MJ did is not impressive because it was.
Hey man, if that's your hat, wear it. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm all about wearing, living your truth. That's I'm all about that.
But I do think a lot of what make LeBron James' path just a little bit better is just the chokehold he had in the finals. And you could argue Michael Jordan had that too, because in those 6 rings, the only team that was able to get it done, and they didn't even beat Michael Jordan, was Houston, and that was after he retired. that was after he took that break. And once he came back, it was just on live. But I think when you look at that window, LeBron James was never not in the playoffs. It was either he was never not in the playoffs or he was just never not in the finals, right? And arguably the only thing, and he was competitive with a whole bunch of different talent. Like he was competitive with, he took George Hill, Jordan Clarkson, and them dudes to the finals. But then at the same time, he took players like Mo Williams, Boobie Gibson, Big Z, Anderson Virgil to the finals too. And I just think that the track history of talent that he's won, led to the finals, 2, gotten paid, 3, players who's made a career just off of the premise of guarding. Like, I know y'all might like Tony Allen, but Tony Allen borderline got a Hall of Fame career for guarding LeBron James. And PJ Tucker got a career of being called the LeBron stopper, right? Like you got all these players that's literally got they living off LeBron James' behalf.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this, but how does that? So, if I'm interpreting what you're saying correctly, that what you're saying is that LeBron, he got it out the mud. What he did in his peak, which is 10 years to be fair, 10 versus 6 to Mike. What he did in his peak, same amount of titles, same amount of MVPs, less scoring titles, more gold medals, but it's the same level of dominance. But what you're saying is that LeBron's is higher because he had to do it. He had to. I'm just saying he had to get it out the mud. He didn't have Scottie Pippen. He didn't have Phil Jackson.
Yeah, he had to go out there and get it.
He didn't have none of that, right?
Like, because we, like I said, we got to be honest, right? Like, it is beautiful that Michael Jordan was on a team that, had a general manager that said, all right, we're going to build around Michael Jordan, right? That's a huge difference with a lot of all-time great players, right? Having a general manager who's going to sit here and say, hey, let me build a dynasty. When LeBron James got into the league, he never had in that first 7 years, he never had a owner or a general manager that sat there and wanted to build a dynasty. Like this is like we gotta understand this is the reason LeBron James left the first time. Like you can't name a second All-Star on LeBron James' team in that tenure.
There's a level of climbing up Mount Everest if if you're going to compare Michael Jordan to LeBron in that first iteration. But like I said, LeBron didn't have Mike. He didn't have Phil. He did have Wade. He did have Spo. He did have Bosh. So does that level the playing field?
I think for the time it took him to get those play alongside those talents, I don't think it levels the playing field. I just really don't. And especially when you look at the fact that, before he joined Miami, like, yes, you can include D-Wade did win a ring in what, 06, 05 or 06, right? But from that span after he won that chip, like Miami was just a middle of the road team. They just was. And once he joined them with Bosh, they was unmatched. But I just don't think, and I think a lot of times we forget that Michael Jordan, he had Tony Kukoc, and he had Dennis Rodman eventually, and he had a Horace Grant, and he had Scottie Pippen, and he had Steve Kerr. Like, I think we forget all these weapons he had. And he had a coach, too, which makes a huge difference. And Jerry Krause that we slander a little bit, but he had a lot of different pieces that LeBron James never had until he went out there and got it. So, and that's why I just can't sit here and say that it was a apples to apples, because it was never apples to apples. Like LeBron James had to make it that way. And the first time we ever seen him with a somewhat decent player in Wade, that's when everybody just started like, all right, yeah, this probably would have happened in Cleveland had we did it for him.
I do want to talk about that. What you just said, that slandering Jerry Krause. A lot of the knock LeBron gets is him being heavy-handed with front office matters, with traditional front office matters. And where does that land with you? Do you feel like players, and let me not even ask about players, do you feel LeBron was well within his rights to take the Jerry Krauses by the collar and basically do their job, something that Mike never did?
I think in the NBA, then and now, I think you get in a situation where and like I said, speak of true, but in an era like now, I think that's one thing that did hold LeBron James back. Like, if we being honest, like you can't have your player having that much power on decisions, because let's be honest, like players typically, especially elite level players, don't typically have the odyssey talent like that. They just don't. Like, historically, all the players who's made that transition to where they're like scouts or owners, or where they got to actually recruit this talent, they've never really worked out. Like Michael Jordan, like him as the owner, like their odds for the talent is just different. Like, what they want in a player is just different. And when you have an active player who's sitting there telling your general managers, "Hey man, I want Shabazz Napier," and Shabazz Napier ain't truly what you need alongside you, it does taint the water. Of course you do have your hit or misses, like your obvious ones where LeBron James might sit here and say, "Hey man, like I want to play with Ray Allen." That makes sense. He's a catch and shoot. That's perfect. But then you have your situations where you sit there and say, I feel like we need to re-sign Tristan Thompson. And it's like, I just don't think that's the right move. But but how you feel about it? Because I feel like you almost on the edge of where you like, hey, I feel like LeBron James got a little bit too much power.
No, I don't feel that way at all. I feel politically, and as a fan of, just a general fan of sports, I don't feel like none of these players should allow anybody to dictate their career. If we're going to be judged and you're going to in large cases, have your money affected by wins and losses and things of that nature, then yeah, you should take a controlling stake in the matters of how this team is put together, because you're the one that got to get up and deal with Skip Bayless and the rest of them calling you a choke artist and the rest of that. All right, if I can't get it done because I feel like my team is not up to snuff, then I'm going to figure out how to get my team up to snuff, and then we can call a spade from that point on, right? I don't believe that I don't believe in any type of pejoratives being launched at Kevin Durant, LeBron James, any of the other type of players at that ilk when they do lean into those waters of like, yeah, trade this player, I need this player back, or I'm going to hold this team hostage during free agency because I want to see what type of other moves they can get done. And, it's their career. These careers are extremely finite. You don't have time to play around. You could be a general manager or a president of basketball operations. They could do 30 years in that same position. They can have an actual career, and go live their best life after that. Ball players, they put their whole body on the line. Ball players, their careers are, if they're lucky, 10 years. If they're lucky, they're retiring at 30, and can do something after the fact. I would never being upset at players calling their own shot.
So let me ask you this then, and actually I think you might be the perfect one for this question, right? But you being a Bulls fan, would you have wanted Michael Jordan to be more of that back then?
He's not a Bulls fan. He ain't see red. Stop saying that. We don't claim short. He not from our side of he not from our hood. He not see red. And he ain't throwing up the horns. He dropping them. If anything, let's clarify. He's EBK. He's a renegade C red. All right. So we gonna merge the streets with the NBA. So you might think he nation. So if he in the county, he got to sit at the table with us. He gonna be on our deck. He gonna be on our side. But he's not really gang on the streets. He renegade. So if we see him, we blowing at him. He not one of us. So stop saying he a Bulls fan. He dropping them horns. He tagging the wall with the upside down horns. So he gang, but he not gang. You feel me? So if in jail, he under that One Love Act. So he gonna sit at the table with us. But on the streets, we putting belts on him. So no, he not see red.
I asked you the same question I asked Real Q. During the peak, Michael Jordan's peak, and that's defined however you want to define it. What made his peak so much better than LeBron's?
We've had this discussion off air about players. We talking peak or prime because it is a difference between peak and prime.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I'm using that word peak. I ain't talking about prime. Mike's prime, for me, goes from 84 to 96. His peak of his powers, the high level, the best of Mike.
I say 89, 93. We're talking peak. Prime, 80, prime, I would probably do 88 to about, or 86 to about, 87 to about 96. I would say prime. But go ahead with your question.
What makes Michael Jordan's peak better than LeBron's peak?
Honestly, as a guy who got to see both of their peaks are really, really close. Really close. I edge Mike's peak just for, like, I never seen a guy compete so hard and like just will a team to victory. I mean, people talk about all the advantages Jordan had. There was some challenges and adversity during those Bulls title years. Not as much from the opponents. I do think I do think LeBron faced a higher level of competition, better teams. But there was a tremendous amount of adversity. I mean, you had Pippen with the bad back. Pippen sometimes disappearing in finals. You had Rodman being a loose cannon with the migraines. In the Sonic series, Pippen was not good offensively. He couldn't be relied on. I think he shot about 320 from the floor and was something miserable in that Sonic series, something like 5 of 38 from the 3-point line. So
yeah, but that's after his peak. That's 96, 97.
okay.
Those examples you give.
But in his peak, I think people don't realize, like, I do think they built a good team around Jordan, but his scoring load, his load that he had to go in, night out. If Jordan wasn't at the top of his game, the Bulls weren't going to win. You know, Pippen was a very good player, but he wasn't a guy you could just ISO and go get a bucket. There was nobody on that Bulls team in Jordan's peak where you could say, okay, Jordan, you may not have your A game. We got somebody else who can get buckets. Jordan had to be at a certain level every single night, offensive end and defensive. Now, the Bulls had versatile defensive players, but there was nobody that could really create their own shot. You know, Paxson, Kerr came later. These guys couldn't create their own shot. And you look at a lot of guys that Jordan played with in his peak, they weren't really relevant before or after Jordan played. You know, Steve Kerr, people talk about Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr was a fringe NBA player before he got with the Bulls. You know, he was a guy on the Cavaliers who barely got any time. He was waived. I think the Bulls picked him up off waivers. And I think he got there in Jordan's in his second retirement year or first. Luke Longley was the guy who was a draft bust. The Timberwolves had no use for him. They just discarded him. So Jordan didn't have a guy like Wade who could go and get 30. He didn't have a guy like Bosch, who was a guy who averaged 27 on his own. So I think I think Jordan just had more pressure on him during his peak than LeBron did. There was no Kyrie there. There wasn't a guy like that to shoulder the offensive burden.
So if I'm hearing this right, Rail, your argument for LeBron's peak, why it's better than Mike's, was that he had to get it out the mud. And Q, your argument is that Mike had to get it out the mud.
I mean, both things can be true. Both things can be true. They both had to, you know, get on their grind. But I think the Heat, if we're saying that was part of his peak, that was a really good team even without LeBron James. I'm not sure how good the Bulls would be in their peak without Jordan. They did have the 1 year where they won 55 wins. Everybody likes to bring that up. They got beat in the second round by the Knicks. But the following year, in case anybody forgets, the Bulls were under 500 before Jordan came back. Before he came back, they were under 500. That was a Pippen-led team. Ron Harper was on that team. They were under 500. Jordan came back. I think they went 17-4 down the stretch. He was a rusty Jordan. They pushed the Magic to 6 games without a true guy in the front court to combat Shaq and Horace Grant. So, I mean, Jordan got it out the mud, too. Now, of course, the next year they got Rodman, and that was the final piece of the puzzle. But, yeah, I think both things could be true. But I think you could have stomached a LeBron off night more than a Jordan off night. You had Kyrie in that series against the Warriors. He kind of closed it in the offensive end. You know, he had a good sequence of defense against Steph Curry, and then he got crazy going buckets. I don't think you had a guy that can create his own shot in a situation like that down the stretch. You knew when it was the crunch time against the Bulls. You knew who was getting the ball. You knew there was one guy that can create in that situation. There's no Wade, there's no Kyrie, there's no Bosch. Kukoc was cool. Pippen was a great player. I don't think anybody would compare Pippen's offensive bag to Kyrie's or Wade's. I don't even think Pippen's offensive bag was Chris Bosh like. But yeah, Jordan, you knew who was the man in those crunch time. You knew who was the man. You knew where the ball was going, and you still couldn't stop it.
You know what else these two players had during their peak? They had their ultimate challenge. They had their ultimate challenges as far as like the questions they got from the outside. Can LeBron win? Can Jordan win? Is Jordan too selfish to be able to build a team around? Does LeBron have that it factor, as what Skip Bayless would call the clutch gene? This has nothing to do with the debate, right? But I just want to hear what you guys have to say about your particular argument, LeBron or Mike, their ability to switch up the narrative and prove all the haters wrong.
Both of them, I think both of them, when it comes to narratives and just, they exceed. But, if I'm just going strictly LeBron James, I think, especially the era he's in, right, for LeBron, with how Skip Bayless was on him, all these outlets, everything LeBron James did was just under a microscope. Everything. Everything was him being compared to Michael Jordan. Everything was him being compared to him not being a scorer. Everything was him being compared to saying he couldn't lead a team. Everything was just LeBron James, right? And I think what LeBron James do very, very well is he has the ability to just quiet the noise. He's going to chip it away, as we see with the 2016 championship, as we've seen with his 9-year run in the NBA Finals, as we've seen with his career thus far. LeBron James, often on the court, LeBron James is a perfect example of what you really want to be. Now, of course, he has his incidents where, he gets the narratives with general managers and doing all that good stuff and just picking his shots. But I truly think LeBron James, it's a lot of players. If Skip Bayless was on their heels the way he was on LeBron James' heels, they would have already crashed out by now. It's just, I think LeBron James, honestly, he deserves his flowers. I mean, he's going to get them once he retires, but I don't really think a lot of fans truly recognize a lot of the stuff LeBron James really had to go through from start to finish. Like I said, when I started the point, he was already getting narratives by his own teammates. His own teammates was already building the narrative that they didn't need him. And they was in the lottery to get a LeBron James, or potentially, you know what I mean? And then down the stretch, you got many players that just say LeBron James wasn't that type of player. So I just think LeBron James was always chasing ghosts. He was always chasing other people's narratives. And LeBron James has proven that he is a top player in the league.
What about Mike Q?
Mike faced a lot of criticism. Like you said, is he too selfish? Back in that day, I mean, if you're a recent fan to basketball, not saying necessarily recent, but if you start watching in the last 30 years, you old, you know that wasn't that. I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean it like that. But when Jordan came into the league, the reigning thought was you built a basketball team from the inside out. You needed a dominant big to win. You couldn't win with a perimeter player as your best player. I think Jordan changed all that, and you see, and Jordan's impact, you see teams building around, wing players. You saw the Kobe's evolve, the Dwayne Wade's, LeBron James. Teams are more comfortable building around wing players. However, to be fair, I don't know if anybody has been as criticized, as mocked, doubted, unfairly criticized as LeBron James, because some of the things you heard about him, and you still hear about him, they're unfair. Like people saying he couldn't play in the 80s, or I don't think there's any era LeBron James is not a great player, or the best or second best player, at least in basketball. So yeah, Jordan faced, he faces criticism, but no, LeBron, I think he faces the most unfair criticisms in narratives that I've seen from any NBA player.
All right, let's bring it up to our closing, the closing part of these two guys' career. Obviously, LeBron is still writing his chapters in that part of his book. So we had to do it. It'll be light for that. So Q, the post-prime, post-peak era of Mike, you got, to me, as somebody who watched most of Mike's career, 96 on down was post-prime Mike. Where would you rate, well, not rate it, but what makes that his final chapters of his career? What puts that above
So from 97
LeBron's
to the Wizards,
finals?
97 to the
Let's
Wizards
say
years.
post. Yeah, and just to compare for comparison's sake, let's say LeBron's post prime part of his career would be 18 to present.
Objectively, I mean, LeBron is still, like you said, writing his chapters, and that's really a hard one for me to say. Jordan's post prime is better than LeBron's. I mean, Jordan did get by the years you're stating, Jordan did get 2 titles post prime. He got one in 97. He got one in 98. The Wizards years was a big tell off. Even though I think looking at the Wizard years with our modern eyes, it's not fair to Mike. That was an era of basketball that was really slow in terms of pace, possessions. So those 20 points, 22 points he averaged in the Wizards years, they'll probably equate to 24, 25 points per game in this era, which is, on par with what LeBron is doing now. But I think LeBron has been healthier in his post-prime years. He's obviously played on better teams. Those Wizards teams were awful. So I wouldn't go as far to say their post-prime years. I would necessarily put Jordan over LeBron. He's got 2 titles in MVP, but I think LeBron has had more consistent level of play in the post-prime years. I mean, despite all that, I still feel that Mike is the most dominant player peak-wise we've ever seen. But I don't know if I would say Jordan's post-prime is necessarily better than LeBron's. Like I said, the Wizard years, I mean, he really tailed off. He got hurt. The efficiency was down. LeBron is still efficient, even though I continue to say, like, this is a different era with the pace and play and the possessions and the spacing. So, I mean, you're going to get better offensive output, but I wouldn't go as far as to say Jordan's post prime is necessarily better than LeBron's.
Wow, we got a concession, real. What do you think about that? LeBron's post prime career versus Mike's post prime career.
I think both of them pretty much is, I won't say on par, but I do think LeBron James' consistency is what edges it over for me. Michael Jordan, I would take away the Wizards situation. I think that is unfair to kind of add that to him because it's like he really just did that for possible ownership. Like that was really a money move, a long-term move outside of that ball.
No, he did it for himself.
Knowing Mike, he did it for himself. He don't know when to stop, and he don't know when to stop.
He did it for
point.
himself.
I think he really felt like he was going to come out there and be the best player in the game and do it his way. The ego is really not real with Jordan. I recognize the flaws. I mean,
sometimes I gotta remind people this because again, we lived through it. Q. We watched it in real time. People forget that. People think Mike was just like itching to get back into the game, but Mike was the general manager of the Wizards. He built that team. He drafted Kwame, right? And then he saw Kobe and them, and people stopped talking about Mike in the same glory, in the same reverence. So he decided to tear the team down that he built. He got rid of Rip Hamilton. He got rid of the top 5 scorers on that squad just so he can come onto the team.
Listen, I appreciate what Mike
all
did
the shots
in Chicago. But yeah, Mike was a selfish bastard though. And I think you got to be a little selfish. You got to have a little bit of personality flaws to be these type of great players though. You got to have a little bit of selfishness. LeBron has selfishness too. I mean, he's very willing pass on the court, but he's got selfish. He does some things where kind of throws teammates under the bus. Mike punched teammates. I mean, I wouldn't say either are perfect to play with, because they're gonna have their set ways, their stubborn ways about themselves, though. But I think every great player has some character flaws, personality flaws.
On that point, because honestly, I think truth be told, I really think that's really why y'all kill LeBron James, is because the one thing that made Kobe and Michael Jordan comparable, they just offensively they was selfish. Like in the fourth quarter, you knew if they was down 10, all 10 of those next possessions was gonna be in their hands. It was what it was. LeBron James has a tendency, he will take the back seat. He will be the first one to say, all right, we're gonna set the offense, we're gonna get the corner, we're gonna do a couple cuts. But I do think LeBron James' consistency so far, like on this end of his career, his Laker tenure, a lot of people think this is going to be his last year, but just the fact that LeBron James has made it to where he's playing at 41 years old and he's actually still considered to be a team that can contend for a championship is unmatched. Like I truly think, like when we have both full bodies of work side by side, I think a lot of people is going to be changing their tunes a little bit. Of course, you're going to have the old heads that's still going to be with Michael Jordan. I get it. I respect it. But I think when you look at a total body of work, and even at the tail end, I truly think LeBron James still got the edge. But I would have loved to see Michael Jordan in his era, because I do think he'd be effective. But I still think LeBron.
You wouldn't
James
have loved to see Jordan in this era, because he was a Cleveland Cavalier killer. You would have been crying if Jordan was in this era.
So would have had LeBron. It would have been all right.
And LeBron would have got spanked. LeBron didn't have great games against Michael Jordan Jr., which is Kobe. He don't want to see the real thing. Listen, pull up the numbers. Pull up LeBron James numbers in head-to-head games against Kobe. There are a lot to be left desired, and Kobe was just a scaled down version of Jordan. R.I.P. Kobe. That was tragic. That was tragic. I'm not trying to talk down on him, but that's what he was. He was a scaled down Michael Jordan. Still a great thing to be. Where do you all have Kobe in your rankings? Top 20?
Yeah,
I got a top 20. Yeah, that's fair.
I wouldn't have him top 3.
Top 20. You heard it here.
All right, let's do closing arguments. Q, I'm gonna let you have the floor. Why is Jordan the GOAT?
He's messing with my phone. Kobe, leave my phone alone. There's no disrespect, but you're top 10. I have Kobe nightmares all night. Why is Jordan the GOAT? Simply because his aura, his impact, will to win. Sorry?
His aura?
Yeah, the aura. Aura is a real thing. Aura is something that inspires teammates. The guy wasn't an excuse maker. He was willing to do anything to win, including punch Steve Kerr's face, which probably needed to be punched at that time. Threaten teammates, make Scottie Pippen hate him. Being the best takes sacrifices. You can't be friendly all the time. You got to make people mad. You got to pick on Scottie Pippen. You got to punch Steve Kerr's face. And in the finals, in his prime, the guy won 6 finals out of what, 8 years. I mean, there was no eating on Mike's watch. And as far as skill, Mike is an extremely skilled offensive player. I mean, the footwork, the fluidity on offense, the ability to get to the basket, score from pretty much all levels, defend at an elite level. Yeah, he's simply GOAT. He didn't have any weaknesses in his game, and he didn't have any weak moments in his peak.
That was a shot. Rel, why is LeBron the GOAT?
When we finally close the last chapter of LeBron James, we're gonna realize on and off the court, LeBron James was a perfect example of what players want to
I don't
be
want to hear about
in
nothing off court. Go.
you see the
No,
reason
no,
they
no,
want
no.
to hear the off the ball
No.
court because what Michael
Off
Jordan
the
was doing,
court,
man.
that off the
He was out
court,
there spitting
you
on
can
people's
keep the
teeth.
goody two shoes. Yeah, Michael Jordan cheated on his wife. So what? So, some people get cheated on sometimes. That happens. This is the real. This is the real world. I don't want to hear nothing about no off the court. Your Honor, throw that out. We can't put that in court. Come on, Your Honor.
You
You
have
can't. That's not admissible. We're talking
you
about
have
players.
you have to when you have to because when you
Okay.
look at everything, look because this is not even just basketball. This is just even the CBA. This is even how player movement is. This is how money is. Like LeBron James' impact on the game is a lot more than we give credit for. LeBron James as a player is one of the most complete players that we've seen at his position.
Well, if we
LeBron
want to
James,
go, not to cut you off, young buck, not to cut you off, not to cut you off, not to cut you off, but I'm gonna cut you off. Without Michael Jordan, there's probably no LeBron James. There's no Kobe. There's none of these guys. These guys are Jordan's sons,
I don't
stepsons.
agree.
Those people.
Kobe, not
So
Kobe,
when you talk
yeah,
about
but I don't.
impact, people. But I mean, people are wearing. LeBron has even wore Jordan shoes. Jordan ain't wearing LeBron shoes. But LeBron was so great. Baby LeBron should have made Jordan wear his shoes. He couldn't. He was in
I mean, if you
Akron
want
somewhere trying to be like Mike.
to, if you want to talk shoes, you got it. I mean, it's no player in the league that could ever match MJ shoe. It just is what it is. But
Michael Jordan
everything
got a
else,
song by Gatorade. LeBron James just got a song by little groupie boys on Facebook and Instagram singing and crooning to him. And
LeBron James, we got the puppet commercials and we got the sprites. We got the
you did you? Let me
Sprite
ask you a
cranberry.
question. Did you make one of them little LeBron songs? One of them little R&B LeBron songs? Don't lie to me, because I look you up. What's your Instagram? Did you make one of them LeBron songs? Did you
You
ghostwrite
want to
one of
make
them?
one? We can make a song right now about Bron, so you can that be our truce. You can do the hook and everything. I'll write it for you.
Yeah, no, I don't want to participate. I'm not glorifying no man. I'm not crooning to no man. I'm not serenading and singing no love song to no man. You
You
LeBron
can
James
call
fans
it
got that.
Jesus, but you can't make a song about Bron.
No. I draw the line at
See,
making songs about men. In my
but
era, all we do is
you call
we
like
just
Jesus.
first of all, in my era, all we do is make diss songs towards other men. We are not making no songs talking about uh, he's my king. I'm not doing that.
I want to hear that, man. Y'all was out there gambling with MJ and saying we about to play against Black Jesus the next game.
I never called him Black Jesus. That's something that y'all doing retroactively. I ain't never heard he was your airness. We ain't never called him Black Jesus. That was not a thing in the 90s and the 2000s. We were not running around calling him Black Jesus.
Amar Rashad used to call him Black Jesus back in the 90s. So, I mean, that's a little bit of not necessarily the full truth. Maybe it was just him, but the term was out there. Well,
Nah,
I mean, he had
I don't
Felicia
care.
Rashad as his
Zesty.
wife.
Y'all got to stop thinking just because people got these women in
All
their
right,
life. Look
real.
what Diddy was doing, rubbing stuff on his nipples.
All right, okay. We're not going into the
I'm just
Diddy
saying,
talk.
you got to
We're
stop
staying away
thinking
from
just
Diddy
because there's
talk.
a woman on the side of a man, he can't be doing those zesty materials.
Reckless speculation. Amar Rashad was zesty. Rail, the floor is yours. Why is LeBron the GOAT?
His impact to the game is unmatched. Like you can't sit here like obviously Michael Jordan had his impact too. He's been impressionable for a lot of players after him, but we can't sit here and say LeBron James at no point modeled his game with Michael Jordan. It's just two different players, two different play styles. LeBron James literally renovated his position. Like it's nothing. It's nobody that's gonna be another LeBron James. It's not gonna happen. LeBron James has changed the ins and outs of the NBA forever. The cap, the money, everything. So we gotta when LeBron James finally retires, at some point, he'll give him his flowers. and he had finally recognized LeBron James as the better player. But, today just wasn't the day, but you'll see the light.
First of all, I love LeBron James. Um, I've always given him his flowers. LeBron James was my favorite player until Derrick Rose entered the league, and then I stopped liking him when he went over to the Heat because the decision should have been to come to Chicago. But no, I've always given LeBron his flowers. Like I said, there was a point where he was my favorite player, and I wanted him so bad in '09 to show up to them finals and put the belt to Kobe. Instead, he was over there getting bullied by Dwight Howard. That's another thing that pissed me off about LeBron. That was that 2009 Eastern Conference Finals that pissed me off. But other than that, no, I love LeBron. He gets his flowers. I said he's top 3, and he's not 3, and he's just not number 1. I mean, what's wrong with being number 2?
Dwight Howard,
don't
you
take
had
that.
one of the, at that time, the best defensive big men in the league who and he was the closest thing to Shaq without having Shaq. Like the man was just unguardable.
Not Shaq.
And I mean, I said the closest thing. I'm not disrespecting Shaq, but the closest thing
close
to that.
And no, they didn't lose that series because of LeBron, but they didn't win the series.
Because you got Big Z out there and Verge out trying to guard Dwight.
Who was guarding LeBron? Everybody. That's the thing about LeBron fans. When you lose, everybody was guarding him. He's the only player that I know that everybody guard him, and then just the other 4 guys just sit there and don't do anything. I don't know. That Magic roster wasn't that great. I don't know. Maybe Hito and Peja was just too much for LeBron. And what was the little light-skinned guy who be bullying people? And no, not Jameer Nelson. The other one. The one that was plowing Derek Fisher's wife and beating him up in the backyard, making light on light violence.
Matt Barnes.
Matt Barnes. Yeah, it was Matt Barnes. So Matt Barnes was on that Magic team, right? No?
I don't think he was on that team.
What team was Matt Barnes in when he was acting like he was going to throw the ball out at Kobe's face? I thought he was on the Magic that year.
That was the Magic, but he wasn't on the Magic when they went to the finals and the Eastern Conference Finals the following year. All right, man. This has been a good argument. If I had to grade it, I don't know, Q. You had that concession. Real never conceded a point. He always had LeBron. I don't know.
But Jordan was still the greatest. He's still the GOAT. If it's the closing seconds, I want Jordan to take the shot, and I want Jordan playing defense. I want him defending the other team's best player, and I want him taking the last shot.
So let me ask you this, right? You a general manager. You have no players on your team.
Mm-hmm.
Both Michael Jordan and LeBron James is on the board. You drafting Michael Jordan number 1?
I would take Jordan number 1, yeah. He has to give me a reason not to take him number 1.
If I could sign LeBron to a lifetime contract, I'm taking LeBron number 1. If I also get exclusive rights to his DNA, that means I can draft his kids as well. I'm taking LeBron because I don't want Michael Jordan's kids. They make terrible decisions, co-kids. Well, you know what? Mike played with co-kids.
That's irrelevant.
It's okay.
I mean, you're no stranger to cocaine, so let's not judge. You're not stranger. You're no stranger to a good time. Let's not be in that glass house. Because I've seen you around Chicago engaging in some questionable activity. The thing is, you're not Michael Jordan's son. So when you take your weekend in California, and I don't mean California on the West Coast, I mean California on 26. When you have your weekend stay at the county jail, you're not in the news. So let's not do that, sir. Let's humble yourself. because I know two of us got a record on this podcast. So I don't know what Relly done did in Cleveland or Akron or Fairfield or whatever he is, and but you know what? Our records are online. Let's have people pull those up because they'll be both going to be looking bad. I mean, Michael Jordan's son did a little cocaine. I done a lot worse, not drug wise, but look, I done been there, so I'm not going to judge anybody for some bad decisions. You know,
Hey man,
yeah.
we're not our
I
worst
wasn't in the
decisions.
spotlight when I was getting hauled off to jail, so
That much is true.
I'm not going to let you sit up there and down Jordan's kids. He didn't force them into the NBA.
No, I'm gonna
I
down them
mean,
because
the
they
thing
knew
is,
better.
Jordan took his kid and put him in Nike front office where he belonged. He didn't put him on a roster where he doesn't belong. No disrespect to Bronny, he's not an NBA player, not right now. He wasn't even a college player. So I don't know how good LeBron's DNA is. Bryce and Bronny are looking real Marcus and Jeffrey right now to me.
That's disrespectful.
Yikes. That is disrespectful.
You can edit
It's,
that. You can
man,
edit
that's
that out
crazy.
of
Comparing
this.
somebody to
Whatever you want to do with
Mark,
that, this could be just between us.
I'm not going to edit that out. I'm not going to edit that out. That's funny. But all right, man. Rhea, where can anybody find you and all your Cleveland-esque or just NBA in general content?
You can find all my content on TikTok, IG, and YouTube. It's just at really_Hall. Whole bunch of Cavs content. So if you like Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm your guy.
And my cousin Tate, he has put out the APB for you. I'm not going to tell you we found you. It's between us. We don't snitch over here. Thanks for coming up on the show, man. We don't have we just like in real life, we don't have any declaration for who's better, LeBron or Mike. You all be the judge. Thanks for listening to this latest episode from the Frustrated Chicago Sports Fan Channel. Don't matter if you listen to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or watch it on Twitch or YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, share with a friend, hit the notification bell so you never miss a drop. And to all the guys from Chicago, we say three things. Bear down, go Cubs go, and sell the team, Jerry.